Hey there, this is the final part to this 3-part series about the Persona animes, where I'm gonna go over Persona 5 and its OVAs and specials. I'll be comparing Persona 5 to the Persona 3 movies and the Persona 4 the animation, which I've done videos on both, so go check them out first before you watch this video. Otherwise, just sit back, like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to my channel to see more reviews, and leave a comment if you got an anime or manga you want me to review. I'm down to review anything really. Persona 5 is based in and around the Shibuya ward in Tokyo. This is where our main protagonist Ren Amamiya moves to after being charged with a false assault charge and transfers to Shujin Academy, living in a cafe attic owned by Sojiro Sakura. On his first day to Shujin, Ren discovers the Metaverse app on his phone, allowing him to traverse to the Metaverse through the use of the keywords. Mainly the target, the location also targets extortion and the representation of their desire. After they entering the palace of Suguro Kamoshida and discovering his persona, Ren, along with Ryuji Sakamoto and Takamaki and a monster cat named Morgana, defeat Kamoshida and form the Phantom Thieves with Heart, a vigilante group that's dedicated to exposing corrupt adults by stealing their deepest and darkest desires to have to confess to their own crimes, all while expanding their team with victims of their targets. Now, the art style. What happened, man? What the fuck happened? Look at Persona 3. Look at how fucking gorgeous it is. Now look at Persona 4. Look at how, even though it's not as gorgeous as Persona 3, it still looks really fucking good. Now let's look at Persona 5. Let's look at Persona 5 once more time. What the fuck did they do to it? Like, Cloverworks, the studio who animated this, just had to make the style look similar to Persona 4, and that was it. That was their baseline. Persona 4, not Persona 3, which was again fantastic, just kiss and everything. Persona 4, slightly lower than Persona 3, but still really good. That was their baseline, and they fucked it up. How do you fuck that up? Again, Persona 4 was not artistic or anything. It was probably average to above average for most people. That was like their baseline, and they still fucked it. I don't know how you can do that. Again, like compared to Persona 3, compared to Persona 4, Persona 5 looks like shit. I don't know how Persona 5 can look like shit. And then, to some people, what's even worse is that they use CGI for some of the boss fights. Personally, I don't mind CGI. If the show is completely CGI, I still watch it because I might enjoy the actual content. Exhibit A, Berserk 2016. The CGI was dog shit, but I still watched it because I love Berserk. The CGI for me doesn't bother me, but somehow it looks so fucking ugly. I don't know how CGI can look ugly in a bad way. I don't know how you can do that. I understand CGI is bad in general, but like somehow they made CGI look even worse than it usually is. And the thing is, like in Persona 3 and Persona 4, everything was animated like normally, I believe. I'll double check that when I edit this video, but like everything was animated like normal, like for all the boss fights. So I understand why Persona 5 decided to take the CGI route for the boss fights when they could have just stayed with the original idea of animation. You know, like how it's an anime. Next is the comedy of Persona 5. I guess it exists. There is some like comedic scenes, but nothing stands out like how they did in Persona 4, which is a shame. Like genuinely, like, you know, spoiler alert, Persona 5 is a dog shit anime, I'm gonna be honest with you, but like genuinely it's a shame that Persona 5 wasn't comedic in any way, shape or form, because like when I played Persona 5 for the very first time, I think the main thing that stood out to me with all the characters was like how like well they like meshed with each other, and like how they could just like bounce back with each other, like that, not having like that like snappiness to them, or like having again all that comedy to them. It made the characters feel empty. It felt like the characters were just shells of what they were in the game, and it felt really off. Like they kept some things, such as Yusuke being very eccentric and Ryuji and Morgana having like this back and forth between each other, calling each other like a cat and a monkey, but that's it really. The game had like, I feel like I'm romanticizing the game a lot because the Persona 5 game is fucking fantastic, but the show just didn't really have any comedy to it. It just felt kind of just like, again, it felt like a shell of the game in a comedic sense. So yeah, like I generally just don't have anything like good to say. So we're currently 0 for 2 with Persona 5. I haven't talked about the game aspect of it, which should be an easy W because Persona 5 is based off a game, so there should be an easy thing, right? Well, no, they fucked that up as well. The first thing is that there's no calendar transition. Yes, I'm gonna be honest with you, it sounds like I am nitpicking to the fucking like minute details of Persona 5. But the thing is, with two things. First thing is that the game is about time management, especially with Persona 5, because if you don't defeat the boss within a certain amount of days, you immediately fail the game. Same thing with Persona 4. So having a calendar to like manage, to like show the user how time is managed within the show would have been like a lot helpful, because in the show it feels like they just kind of like do everything back to back to back. Like they get into the bad situation where they discover the boss, they recruit the member, like the new member for the party, they explore the palace, they find the treasure, they do the boss fight, the criminal, or the person that they target get arrested, back to the start. Like it feels like everything just happens in like back to 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 back. And like in the game obviously that doesn't happen, because you would have time to prepare your stuff, you would have time to talk with other people, to maybe even just like chill out, like fuck the investigation stuff, I'm gonna chill out, hang out with the homies. You can do that in the game, but in Persona 5 in the anime, again, they just kind of like speed run it. Okay, we're done, now let's move on to the next one. Wait, how much time has passed? Who cares? There's no form of like showing time management to the viewer. And the second and most annoying thing is that why did Persona 3 and Persona 4 do it but not Persona 5? Literally, like I talked about how bad the art style was, but what about the game elements? Persona 3 had all like most of the game elements, Persona 4 had most of the game elements. Persona 5, they didn't even include the core calendar feature, something that appears. I shouldn't have scratched that, I'm lying actually. They did do the calendar thing, but they did it for like the next episode transition right at the end of the episode. So let's say you're watching episode 12 and you get to the end after the credit scene, or like the whatever happens, it will show the calendar transition from 12 to 13 because the next episode is 13. But it don't do the actual like calendar transition. It doesn't make sense. Again, 3 and 4 did it, why couldn't 5 did it? Next thing, so this is a game element plus an art style thing, is that you get the cut-ins and the all-out attacks. The cut-ins feel really sloppy. In Persona 4, it was faithful to the original game. It had like the same animation, the same cut-in like art style, the same sound effect. Persona 5 kind of just like did their own thing. I think they tried to make it like streamlined and look smooth, but like instead they should have just kept what they did in the game, which was just this red like paper tear off like from like a comic, and then the characters like eyes. They should have just kept that rather than try to like mess around with like weird like different like somewhat clean transition effects. They should have just kept with the original. Then you get the all-out attacks. Now I'm dreading myself for this bit. You have some of them that look very faithful to the original game, like generally like it looks like they took the actual like game format, like the game all-out attack, they put it into the show. Like it's very faithful. Then you get to whatever the hell Arn's all-out attack was in episode 3. I'll play you the clip from episode 3 and I'll play you the clip from the game. Do you see my issue with it? Do you see my issue? It's a very big issue. If you didn't notice it, then I suggest you watch it again, because there's a very big fucking issue with it. Call a motherfucker young Billy Mays, cause wait, we've got more. I want to talk about 2 of the boss fights, Sai Nijima's and Kunikazu Okamura's. First thing is Sai Nijima's. In the game, there's a roulette table that spins around and can either benefit or harm the thieves. Basically, it's kind of like the Fortune boss fight from Persona 3. What's more important, and something that I'm going to talk about, the main topic actually, is that in the game, you have to expose Sai for cheating because someone puts like a temple glass thing above the winning hole that you choose. So you basically lose no matter what. So you have to expose her for cheating before you can even like, do damage to her. In the show, they skipped that completely. Like the core aspect of the boss fight, the whole roulette table, discovering that she's cheating, calling her out on it, and then basically using that to your advantage. They skipped that. They just make it a 1v, how many? I think like 8 or 9. They just make it like that instead of like actually, doing the boss fight. And it's even more annoying when you realize that all the other boss fights had the element, like, kind of like size a fortune table, like roulette table, sorry. With Kamishida, the thief stole his crown. With Madarame, they painted him black so that he's weak to all damage. With Kaneshiro, he was distracted by shiny stuff, so they basically, distracted him with shiny objects. And with Wakabe Ishiki, they use a ballista to shoot her down so they can do damage to her. All of the previous boss fights, this is what I don't get, all of the previous boss fights in the show, they were basically, obviously they were shit, but they were followed to a T. They had all of like the main details of how to defeat the boss fight properly. That's an owl in the background, sorry about that. It's 4 in the morning. But they had all of the aspects of the boss fight. But with Cyanigemas, they just ignored hers completely, which didn't make sense. Like, I'm genuinely struggling to get my words out because it doesn't make sense. They literally, I'm going to repeat myself, they literally did it for all of the other boss fights, but not Cyanigemas. Ow! How do you forget? Why don't you do it? Then you get Kunikazu Okamura's boss fight, which was the fight before Sais. Now, it's basically been agreed by everyone who played Persona 5 that Okamura's boss fight is the worst boss fight known to man. Basically, the whole process is that you have to kill 4 of his minions before you can even damage to him. But there's 4 different phases of different minions, and what's worse is that if you can't kill one, you have to kill all minions at the same time, and if you don't kill one of the minions, they self-destruct, damage your team, and now you have to do that same phase over again with less health and less mana. Generally, it's the worst fucking boss fight. I don't know whoever designed that, but they should be put down like the dog they are. In the show, you guessed it, they completely skipped it. Sort of. The whole self-destruct thing, it's like they kept all of the minions in the order that they come through, but the whole self-destruct thing they completely ignore. Like, they basically speedrun the boss fight. Like, whoever was in charge of the Persona 5 animation probably just watched a speedrun of Persona 5 rather than the actual game, and was like, yeah, let's animate this instead. Because that's all I can say about how shit the pacing is and how they miss so much stuff out. It's like they just intentionally skipped out most of the things that makes Persona 5 Persona 5. At least they got the music right. There's that. At least the music's there. That's the only good thing about it. Actually, there's another thing, but we'll get to that. Now, let's talk about the theme of Persona 5, which is something that Cloverworks couldn't get wrong. Otherwise, this would have been a shell of a Persona 5 the animation cover thing. I don't know what it is anymore, but it's shit. The theme for Persona 5 is about removing the mask that you wear while in society, allowing you to have more freedom in your life. It's not as deep as Persona 3's Spiritual Death, which I did a review on Persona 3. Go watch that if you haven't. But the whole idea of wearing a mask is probably the most relatable to almost anyone who comes across it. Being forced to wear a mask at work, in public, at school, wherever, hiding your true self from others out of fear of being judged. Persona 5 explores the idea of literally ripping that mask off and expressing one's true self, using the power to not only go on the offensive against society's expectation, but also defending yourself from whatever difficulty you would face from being judged by those who think they know you better. Then you pair that up with a bunch of misunderstood teenagers that are overlooked by society due to either their appearance or their background. You just have such a fantastic pairing of a really strong theme that can be explored really in depth with these characters that just fit the theme so fucking well. Genuinely, if they did what obviously Persona 3 and Persona 5 are completely different in their own ways, but if they did what Persona 3 did, where they talked about more about the wearing a mask in public and trying to be free, how society looks down upon them, how they're scared of being judged. If they did that, I think it would have made Persona better, the best, but it would have generally done a lot more to make Persona 4 better than how it is now. Because right now, again, Persona 5 is just such a shit anime, but it has such a really good theme with such really good fucking characters that fit that theme, but everything else is dog shit. It's fucking annoying. For those who play the game, generally you will fucking hate this anime more than any other thing. You will hate this anime if you play this fucking game. Alright, Now let's get onto the OVAs and the specials for Persona 5. First thing is Dark Sun, which is essentially the continuation of Persona 5 following the true ending instead. Kind of like No One Is Alone, but shittier. At the end of Persona 5 the animation, Joker fucking dies, but we can't have the main character dying on us. So Dark Sun continues the actual story, following how Eren avoided the Gulag and goes on to defeat Masayoshi Shido and kill God. Yes, we're at that stage, we kill God now. All the cool kids are doing it. There's not much else to say. Again, like Persona 4, No One Is Alone, it's just the true ending of the show. Same issues apply with Dark Sun as it did with, as I said, with the original Persona 5 animation. Also, it skips out on one of the boss fights with the twins, Carolina and Justine, and how they fuse into Lavenza. It feels like domestic girlfriend. Like, every time I think it can't get worse, it gets worse. The next one is Proof of Justice, which is a two-parter. The first part is basically the Golden animation but shorter and shittier. We follow Ren bonding with Akechi, going to places such as the Jazz Club and playing billiards, things that are only done in Persona 5 Royale, where you can actually spend time with Akechi as well. The second, and the only redeeming thing about Persona 5 the animation as a whole, is the Valentine's Day episode. We see Ren spend a nice Valentine's Day with each of the female confidants, which includes Sae, who couldn't be romanced in either the original game or Royale, and trust me, a lot of people would romance her. Although the best one is, in my opinion, Yusuke, and I will fight anyone to the fucking death if you think that's wrong. We also get a nice comedic ending where all of the girls confront Ren in the cafe as they saw him spend time with another person in his room alone, only for it to be Ryuji just doing bro shit with Ren. Honestly, out of all of the thing, like out of everything in Persona 5, the animation, this is the only good thing. If you want to, like, much like how I said with Persona 4 in my review, go watch that as well if you haven't. If with Persona 4, if you want to watch all the funny moments, you can just search it up because there's a bunch. There's like 10-minute episodes, for like 3 or 4 episodes of them. With Persona 5, like the only thing you should probably watch is the Valentine's Day episode. It's the only good thing like to come out of the Persona 5 animation. Nothing else is close to the Valentine's Day episode, and it's a 1 episode special. You know how fucking bad the show is when a 1 episode special is better than the 25-26 episode of the main like series. You know how fucking, like, you don't understand how fucking bad that is. It's impressive, really. Now, the last of the specials for Persona 5 is Daybreakers. This is a single OVA based off one Mementos request. And that's it. For those who are wondering, Mementos is basically the public palace where all of the shadows of people who don't have like a strong enough desire, they kind of just like go to Mementos and chill there until someone tells the Phantom Thieves to go run them up for their J's or some shit. You know, that's really it. Like, there's nothing else to it. It's like, again, one Mementos request about a bunch of robbers trying to like attack, trying to rob LeBlanc, but then they get sent a calling card and then they go to Phantom Thieves, go to Mementos, defeat them, where heroes won the day. There's no substance to it. So, yeah. Just don't fucking bother, man. Just don't fucking bother. I honestly hope that, like, I genuinely wished, actually, that the Persona 5 animation would, like, did justice to the game. But it didn't. Like, it failed on every single fucking aspect. The art style was shit. The comedy, non-existent. The faithfulness to the original source. How you got that wrong, I don't know. But they got it wrong. It completely flopped on every single fucking front. And it's so fucking disappointing. Because for those who played Persona 5, you know how fucking good Persona 5 is. This is not me fucking glazing, by the way. Like Persona 5 is the most, like, it's one of the most like highly selling games out there. So like, from having such a really good fucking game to such a really shit anime, such a disappointment. And it's even worse because like it could have been so much more. It could have been so better than like what we got. And like, what's even more annoying and depressing is that they had 2 two winning formulas for the show. If they wanted to make a linear show going through all of the major events from start to finish, they could have done what Persona 3 did. You know, I wouldn't say do all the movies, but just do what Persona 3 did, where they just focused on the character, you know, focus on the story and just tell it from start to finish without skipping a bunch of shit, without doing anything like that, and just focus on the main theme of, you know, taking off their mask. If they wanted a more character focus, a more comedic focus show, take the Persona 4 out. Persona 4 was fucking perfect, as I said in my review video, and probably what everyone else says. You wanted to make, if they wanted to focus on the characters, which they should have done, if they wanted to focus on the characters and focus on, you know, the funny moments, Persona 4 was literally the golden ticket. They had two options. How do you fuck up? Both of them were successful, by the way. Both of them were highly rated on MAL. Persona 3, Persona 4 are highly rated. How the fuck do you have two highly rated series with two ways of approaching the series? How do you have two of them? Two? How do you have that and still fuck up so badly that the only good thing out of the show is a fucking 1 episode special about Valentine's Day? You could not fuck up more than that. How? Like, that's all I can say. How? That's generally the only thing I can say. How can you make such a blunder? Like I said at the start of my Persona review series with Persona 3, Persona is my favourite franchise. Fucking, it's 5 o'clock in the morning, man. Why am I doing this? My favourite franchise. I love how funny and like entertaining it can be whilst also tackling serious topics. Plus the ability to create such like lovable characters and having such like memorable level design, and almost every single boss is such a really good fucking boss fight. Persona just had like everything for me to find my love in storytelling, coming of age JRPGs. And honestly, the show like helped me realize that. Rewatching Persona 3 just made me feel like I was experiencing like the serious storytelling that Persona 3 had when I first played Persona 3, and again Persona in general. Rewatching Persona 4 just made me fall in love with the characters again, with the investigation team. And like I said in my Persona 4 review, I did not enjoy the Persona 4 game. You know, once I watched the anime and the golden animation and, you know, No One's Alone and Thinking So Accomplice, I fell in love with the characters that I had to go back and play the game again, and I just fell in love with the characters even more. They had such a perfect balance between like the comedic antics and the character chemistry and the seriousness and everything. Persona 4 was such a good fucking anime, and rewatching Persona 5 just made me realize how better the game is in every single fucking way. Genuinely, go play the game. Don't watch the Persona 5. There's one thing you want to take out of my videos. I did 3 videos I've done on Persona. Don't watch the game. Play the game, but don't watch the anime. Just play the actual fucking game. It's on Steam. Go buy it. Just do not touch this anime with a 10-foot barge pole. No matter how like edgy Persona 3 is considered, no matter how silly Persona 4 gets with its weird comedy stuff like that, and no matter how fucking dog shit Persona 5 is, to the point where only the Valentine's Day episode is good, I will remember this series, both game and anime. It would genuinely stay forever close to my heart, because it has such an impact to me, like as a gamer and like as an anime enjoyer. It has such an impact to me, because realizing that realizing that there was a game that was half JRPG and half slice of life genuinely got me into Persona. And no matter how good or bad Persona 6 is, if it comes out, either the game or the anime, no matter how bad it is or how good it is, nothing can genuinely change my feelings for Persona. It is such a good fucking franchise, no matter how shit it can be, like with Persona 5 the animation, or how good it can be like Persona 5 the game. Two extremes, I know, but no matter how good or bad it gets, I will forever just be in love with this series. I will forever just play all of the games, watch all the series, consume all of this media. I'm in love. I just love the series, and I'm okay with that.